Hey, beloved. Let me share a quick word with you that the Lord gave me last Sunday evening in my quiet time. And I didn't quite understand, but as usual, I've got my notes, it was unpacked, and I said to the Lord, I will bring this word, but I was just overwhelmed. This week was hectic, and Thai schools are reopened on the 15th of May, so I was in the classroom the same day, the 15th of May, and yesterday it was hectic. I lesson plans, everything just too hectic to mention. But now we're going to be calm. I'm going to bring the word to you. It is packed. It is full of, it's a word of knowledge actually, and it's full of revelation. And also, if you want me to pray for you, beloved, inbox me. I've been praying with and for a number of women 2 weeks ago, and this week the testimony started coming in. So yes, our God is a great God. When he said 2 weeks ago he's going to start doing things suddenly in the lives of his daughters, and God does not play about his daughters, things started happening. There's been massive turnarounds, there's been sudden changes, there's been sudden breakthroughs, because don't forget, we serve the God of the breakthrough. Now read with me quickly. This chapter is called Jacob Leaves for Egypt. I'm only going to read from verse 1 to 3. It starts off by mentioning Jacob's new name, Israel, because a couple of chapters back, God changed his name to Israel. So Israel set out with all that he had and came to Beersheba, and he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. Now, mind you, when we look at the history of Beersheba, that was where Abimelech made an oath with Abraham. So in Genesis 21, Abraham made an oath. Abraham is the grandfather of Jacob, whose name was changed by God to Israel. So Abraham made an oath with King Abimelech, or the king actually saw that the Israelites were doing well, and he got scared of them. He saw that they were blessed with God by God, and God was with them. So Abimelech, the king of Gerar, came to Beersheba and formalized an agreement with Abraham, or Father Abraham, and they were swearing not to deceive each other and not to deceive, and Abraham had to swear that he will not deceive the king or his offspring, and to deal kindly with everyone in the land. Imagine, the king was so scared that he said, you need to sign an agreement that you will not deal unkindly with anyone in my land. Abimelech agreed then to recognize Abram's ownership of a well at Beersheba, which became known as the well of the oath. This is important because this is the well of the oath. God then, generations after, so there was then his son Isaac, and then another generation, which is Jacob, who became Israel. God then appears at this very place called the well of the oath, or the well of seven, or the place of the oath, because God is a God that keeps his promises from generation to generation. This is what is important to note here. So the agreement was sealed with an exchange of animals, symbolizing the covenant they had made. Now listen to this. Now we're here in verse 2. That night God spoke to Israel in a vision. Jacob, Jacob, he said, and Jacob replied. Now what is weird for me is that why is God calling him Jacob, Jacob, when a couple of chapters back he already changed his name to Israel? And Israel means you, because Jacob was in a struggle with God. He said to God, I will not let you go unless you give me a blessing, until you give me a blessing. God changed his name. He said, your name means liar, it means deceiver, because you deceived your brother to get the first birthright. I'm changing your name to Israel, because Israel means you have strived with men and you have strived with God and you overcame. Why would God now come and call him by an old name? And I'm asking God, why would you call him by this name? Because it's the devil that likes to remind us of our past, that we were liars, murderers, sinners, and this. You always, you wash us, you cleanse us, you give us a new hope, a new future, a new name, a new reality. God answered me. God said, just look there. And Jacob replied, here I am. That means Jacob was still identifying with his old name, even though he had a new name now. He was Israel. And God said to him, from you will come an entire nation, because he had 12 sons, remember? And they became the 12 tribes of Israel. They became the nation of Israel. But it doesn't say, and Israel didn't identify with his new name. He still identified with his old name. Sometimes we still identify with the past. We still identify with something, somewhere, people and places that God has already delivered us from. But God is so beautiful, beloved. He will meet us at the very place where we are at, emotionally, spiritually, even in our unbelief. God will meet us there. You know, the Bible says God has given each of us a measure of faith. God knows our abilities and what we can and cannot do. So God knew, if I call him Israel now, he's not going. Not that he wouldn't hear him, because Jacob had a close relationship with the Lord, but the Lord knew there were still parts of Israel that identified with liar, liar. That's how God called him, Jacob, Jacob. Liar, liar, deceiver, deceiver. Jacob replied, here I am. And God said to him, God said in verse 3, I am God, the God of your father. He reminds him at the place of promise, at the well of oath, at the well of 7. Go and look what 7 means spiritually, biblically. I am God, the God of your father Isaac. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation there. Mind you, we know that Joseph now at this time is in Egypt. Joseph, you know the story of Joseph. He was sold. He was of Jacob, and he was sold, but ended up, it's a whole other a series of videos I will make on Joseph's life story. Ends up in Egypt, becomes second in command to the king, or to the Pharaoh, and you know, in a time of famine, basically rescues his father's household. There was 70 of them that Jacob lived with to join Joseph in Egypt. And nowhere, when you read the previous chapters, it doesn't show or say Jacob was in doubt, but we can just imagine God knows the heart. God knew that he needed that reassurance, because now he's leaving the promised land, and we know Egypt later on becomes the land of peril. The land of peril. It's very important. God says, even though that land will become the land of peril for your future descendants, I need you to go, because there I'm going to fulfill a promise. So even if you leave the promised land into the perilous land, God can still use that land of peril to fulfill a promise to you, beloved. Do not be afraid. Go into that place of uncertainty that God is calling you into. He says, I am God, the God of your father. The promises I made to your father, I'm still going to fulfill through you. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation there. I will go down with you to Egypt, and I will also bring you back. Joseph will close your eyes when you die. So beautiful. Now it seems that we're saying that God is now bringing him to die there. He was around 130 when God now took him from Canaan. He passes Beersheba, the place of the oath, or the well of the oath, and he goes down to Egypt, and he still lives with his son for 17 years. 17 years, and God reunites him with his son. But, you know, is with them, and we saw that later on when Moses comes, Moses leads the Israelites out, and they more than 1 million. So from 70 people that God took from the promised land down to Egypt, established them as a great nation, knew what they were going to go through under the hands of Pharaoh, but still had a plan to bring them out. And we know when Moses let them out, they came out, and they came out with loot. They came out with gold. They came out with silver. They came out with all the wealth of the Egyptians. So I got so much from this. I want to make it. I will make a part 2 of this video, because now it's getting so long. There is 5 takeaways from this video, from these three verses. I'm going to edit this nicely and try and make it shorter, but it's going to go to 10 now. It's a beautiful word. It's a deep word. It needs us to meditate on it, and each can get so much from it if we take it back to the Lord in prayer. Toodles, I love you. Stay blessed. Bye.